This is Nicholas 6, GR Guitar Lesson 2. Why are chords called what they are? The simple answer for why chords are given the names they're given is because of the scales they are made out of. For instance, everyone uses the major chord at some point in their music. The reason a major chord is called a major chord is because all the notes in that major chord are from the major scale. Okay? So if you play an A major chord, that means all the notes in that chord are from the A major scale. What makes up a major chord? The root note, the third, the fifth. Those are the key elements in a major chord. There are other notes in it as well, in larger chords. But we're going to keep it basic. The first, the natural third, and the fifth are basically the key elements in a major chord. If you want to break it down even further, a major chord is really about the first root note and the fifth note in the scale. That's your power note in your scale. Your root and your fifth are two very powerful notes within a scale, no matter what that scale is. So the key basic elements of a major chord are the root note, which would be the deepest note in the chord. So if it was an A major chord, the deepest note would be A. Because you're playing in the key of A, you're using an A scale of some sort, in this case the A major scale. So you would have to have your root note A, your fifth note in that scale. When you look at your book of scales or go online and look at scales, those two notes would have to be in your A major chord. Because, again, a major chord is built of notes from the major scale, thus making it a major chord. If you're using, let's say you play a diminished chord, what does diminished mean? The diminished scale, the reason they call it that is because your power note, your fifth note in the scale, is actually flattened. It's moved back. On your guitar, that would mean it's moved back one fret within your scale. So if you play a diminished chord, that means you would have a diminished fifth note, because the diminished chord is built from the diminished scale, which has a flat fifth note. Very important, actually. It gives that scale a very distinct sound. If you're playing a minor chord, what are the key characteristics of the minor scale and a minor chord? A flat third note in comparison to the major. Remember, I talked about in the last video. Everything's in comparison to the major scale. Everything we talk about. When I say something is flattened or sharpened, it's always in comparison to the major, the step pattern of the major scale. So back to the minor scale. What makes it the minor scale? The natural minor scale. There are other minor scales. But again, I'm going to keep it simple. A flat third note and a flat sixth note. That makes the scale the natural minor. So, if you're going to play a natural minor chord or a minor chord, you need to have a flat third and a flat sixth, or just a flat third. In a lot of rock, you're playing like little triad chords. You're not playing full sweep chords across your guitar. You know what I mean? At least that's how I play. A lot of rock bands play that way. Yeah, they'll throw a full sweep chord in there, here and there. But a lot of it's like little triad chords and stuff like that. What is a triad chord? It's a three-note chord. That's all. Very simple. So back to the minor scale. flat third note, flat sixth. So if you're playing a minor chord, it's got to at least have a flat third in it. You understand? That's going to give it that distinct sound. Having a flat third note in comparison to the major scale gives it kind of a sadder, more darker sound. That's the difference. When you play the major scale outright, it just sounds very regular, normal, happy. Then you play a minor scale, it has a little darkness to it, kind of dark sound. I mean, there were points in history where there were certain scales you weren't even allowed to play. We live in a very free time where you could do a lot of things you couldn't do hundreds of years ago or 1,000 years ago. There was actually a time where you weren't allowed to play certain scales because they sounded too creepy. They were probably considered like of the devil or something, you know what I mean? So the point of this video is simply, chords are called what they are called because of the scales they are built from. You are taking several notes from a scale, combining them across your guitar, and all those notes intermingle to create a major sound, a minor sound, a diminished sound. A basic thing, there are exceptions, but again, I'm going to keep it simple. Chords are also like, the reason a chord's called an A chord or a B major or an A major or an A minor or a B minor, because your root note, the deepest note in the chord, gives it its name. So if I play an A power chord, okay, A major chord, the note A will be the deepest note in the chord, which usually means that'll be on the thickest string you're using in your chord. You know what I mean? Because that'll be the deepest sound. So, again, if it's an A major or a B major or a C major, the deepest note in that chord gives it its name. In the case of A, it would be A, B, B, C, C. So that's how it gets its letter name, from the musical alphabet, because of the deepest note in the chord gives it its name. And then for the third time, the reason a chord's called a major, the notes are from the major scale. Reason it's called a minor, the notes are from the minor scale. The reason a chord's called A diminished or B diminished or whatever is because the notes are from the diminished scale. Very simple. Took me years to find that information though. And it confused me for a long time, and I wish I had someone that would have told me. Peace be ever with thee.